Welcome and thank you so much for tuning in. This is Creator Conversations, a series that offers inspiration, insight, and encouragement through the stories of creators who have built their businesses online. Today, I'm joined by Doc Williams, who runs Brand Factory Incorporated, where he empowers his audience to build the businesses of their dreams, no matter their experience or skill level. Doc, welcome and thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey man, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you were able to take some time and talk with us this morning. And in the intro, we kind of alluded to whatever people's skill level, and what I didn't get into and what I'd love to hear a little bit more about is kind of your focus on no code tools and that kind of thing. So can you tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I am what they call, I guess, a solution architect. I just think that I'm a maker and I like solving problems, but I guess maybe that's the technical term that people tell me I should be using. But I just like seeing how I can make people's businesses better. And especially with the online world, I always wish I had the tool or the know how to scale a business I've always wanted to have. And every year it gets easier online. And so no code is the ability to create things or create automation or different sets of skills without needing to know how to code. And so that was really appealing to me because I am terrible at coding. I tried it in high school, I failed. And when I was trying to run my first gym, I was interested in all these tech stacks and all of these things, and I didn't know how to do any of them. So fast forward a couple years, I've been using tons of no code tools, and people ask me to scale their business, and so that's what I do.
Very cool. And you mentioned running your own gym. I had a chance to go and look at a little bit of your backstory, to kind of see your journey of what you have done in the past and how you got to where you are today. But you owned and ran a CrossFit gym, is that correct?
Yeah. So I opened my first gym when I was like 23, something like that.
Okay.
And yeah, it was CrossFit. I had been doing CrossFit since I was like probably 17, something like that. And I was just like, you know what? I can do this. Like, I already had the passion. I was already working out all the time. And,
Yeah.
the problem is with most gym owners, we all think like, hey, this was great. We love working out anyway. Let's just make a business. And, and then everything else transpired.
Yeah. So and I want to dig into that a little bit more. Tell us about your journey from gym owner to what you do today, and what were some of the things that kind of made you go in that direction?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been passionate about helping people. I always just love seeing progression and people understanding and learning new skills. So I think that's like the through line of everything. But
Yeah.
I realize I really am bad at managing people, like just managing like a brick and mortar business. I just don't enjoy being there every morning and trying to set up management and all of those things. It just wasn't my thing. So a lot of things happened with that, and I just realized like this was just burning me out. Like before, I enjoyed going to the gym, working out, teaching people, but then trying to manage a whole team, then teaching them the skills to get up to the certain level, I just then started dreading going into the gym. But I still really enjoyed being in fitness and being in the industry. And so that was the first thing. And then I was trying to get more members. And so one of my friends was like, you got to find out something about Sumo Me. There's this guy like Noah Kagan. There's this new thing called like click funnels. You need to learn something. I was just like, I don't really understand this world. But I started really enjoying the process of understanding funnels and really more copywriting, more telling people stories. So after that, I realized my heart was not in running a gym. It was helping other entrepreneurs tell their stories, specifically in the fitness industry. And then I pivoted and started to do ghostwriting and building out people's funnels that were already established brands, and they just didn't have that tech set up. They had the audience, right? They people wanted to hear from them, but they didn't have an email capture. They didn't have, they didn't want to write 10 emails, and they didn't want to write resource guides. So I was like, I can do all that. And so that's how I
Yeah.
transition.
Very cool. And it's kind of neat. Just hearing in your story, you had this kind of awareness about yourself and something that you knew you didn't want to be, which was someone who managed a team and managed people. And then you end up kind of playing a role with business owners who maybe realize something about themselves, that they might understand their industry really well. They might understand the kind of customer they're trying to reach really well, but they don't understand, and they may even understand like the various components of their funnel, but not understand how to practically implement that with real tools that will do the work for them. Um,
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Very cool. And so what are some of the things, thinking back to that time when you were trying to manage people and stuff, like what were, um because some people, they'll kind of just continue doing the thing that they hate doing because they feel like they have to. What was the thing that gave you permission or helped you recognize, yeah, that's not me, that's not for me, and gave you the freedom to move past that?
That's an interesting question. I think I've always been trying to strive to be as happy as possible in my life. And I feel that if I'm not happy, I can't give someone 100% of my attention or energy. And so I felt like when I was running the gym, I was checking out early. At
Mm,
first, it was really good. And I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But then I was thinking about always bills and doing this and doing that. And what I thought was freedom started becoming a prison. And I was like, you know what? I need to change something. Either I need to change my mindset, I need to do something else, or I just need to completely change gears, do something like that. And I knew personally for me, this is just me. I don't like I I had seen too many gyms at that time that we all started at the same time. They had partners and something just blew up. The partners didn't get along and all these things. And I just didn't want to bring on a partner. I just didn't want to do that. But at the same time, there was just this level of time and energy of training someone and then trying to get more sales, having more membership. And it just came to a crossroad. I was training someone that was really, really talented. Their life was just a hot mess and they could not get it together. I was like, you know what? I can't manage people's like life, try to scale what we're doing with the team. I was like, you know what? For me personally, just not something I can do. So that's when I had to pivot.
yeah. I like that you mentioned, that you like to be happy, and that you make the connection between your personal happiness and your ability to be 100% effective for other people. And I think that's a really important lesson for creators. And like there's definitely going to be times when we have to do things that are not necessarily in our skill set, that don't make us happy, but locking ourselves into things that take away our ability to be fully present and fully ourselves in a way that really brings value to the world. I think that's a trap a lot of creators find themselves in.
Yeah, I
um,
agree. I agree. I agree. I'm not sure. I'm sorry for cutting you off. Um,
no, it's okay.
have you ever heard of, I always, so at one point, so I've had a lot of jobs. So I think I've had over 47 different jobs in different industries.
Nice.
And there was this one, I think I heard this maybe when I was in high school, but it was talking about like Albert Einstein and when he was working on his theories of relativity and everything. And I'm not sure if you've heard this, but, and I don't want to butcher this too much, but the main point was when he was working on his best work, he took a job in several different mundane tasks as a and the trademarks like to patent the patent office, which is just like paperwork. At one point he was, I believe, working at a like a dry cleaner, but that was mainly just to allow him just time to think about his bigger thoughts.
Yeah.
And I really think about that when the gym or anything else later on I was teaching. At one point, I stopped working at like, so I have my license for physical therapy assistant and massage therapy and those things. I just couldn't do it because I was trying to think about my next thing. And graciously, my wife let me take a job as a lifeguard for like 9 months because I was just like, I just need time to think. I just need time to think and just sit there. And so I think sometimes, even if you can't do it full time as a creator, giving yourself permission, even if you could do it as a part time or side hustle, it's so much better to be in love with your craft and scale it that way, that
Hmm.
I feel, then trying to put the burners on and be like, I have to make this like done right now. It works for some people, but I feel like sometimes it's a make or break. Some people excel out of it, but a lot of times I see people just crash and burn just because they're putting so much pressure, and then their art or whatever they're creating suffers because they're pushing like that.
Yeah, yeah. I have a friend who talks about this idea called the overlap technique, with trying to build something on the side and really not putting so much pressure on your creative pursuit, like it has to make an income for me, that it ends up becoming something that, instead of loving the process, it ends up kind of killing the passion. And I think that's something that a lot of creators are in danger of doing when they try to go that route. And I like what you mentioned there about, like, you took this other job, and um, I think it's more and more, hopefully, we're kind of seeing that, instead of this mindset of, oh, I'm going to take my creative passion and I'm just going to do that full time and that's all I'm going to do. Some folks are saying, no, I'm okay with just having a full-time job or having a part-time job for however long, and whatever that looks like indefinitely, and just building this thing on the side and letting it become whatever it's going to become without putting that pressure on it. So that's
Yeah, no,
that's really
there's
great.
I think it was Nerd Wax, the guy that created Nerd Wax. So your glasses don't slip, so that you have this. But he used to work at Costco for like years,
Hmm.
because he was talking about, he viewed Costco as his MMR, monthly recurring revenue, and it was just his
Yeah.
like SaaS product that he just knew how much he was going to be making per month, and then he was working on his passion project. So I was like, that's really interesting. Even repositioning. I'm like, because everyone always talks about like how much you're making per month, and sometimes getting caught up in that and trying to increase it. But he's like, no, no, no. My job at Costco, that's my MMR, and then this is everything else. And I was like, oh, I like that. I like thinking about it like that.
Yeah, that's a really good mindset. So, I want to hear a little bit more, kind of about what your business looks like today. Some of the more functional pieces, like what kind of products do you sell? What kind of services do you offer? And what does that look like for you, practically speaking?
Yeah, this is more of a pivot. I've been trying to do this pivot for several years. I always knew that I wanted to do online courses. I knew I wanted to do some kind of membership and just a tier system of products. The problem was I just always kept trying to release courses, and I felt like I would never be able to do it because I started releasing courses maybe like 5 years ago, and I would only sell like one or two, always just like nothing, nothing. And I was in this mindset I could only do services. There was no way that I could do productized services like courses or whatever, or just like coaching. So I say that all to say, during COVID, I was mainly just a marketing agency, but because of what happened, more than 90% of our clients just either went out of business or couldn't afford us anymore. So that was a huge hit. And then after that, in March, I decided to do something called Build with Me. And I was just going to start teaching people how to build a business with one tool. And because of that, I ended up starting a membership with three different tiers. I started offering different courses, how to build out startups and side hustles using no code tools. So, how to build out an MVP, how to find clarity, what project you should build first, and then also a no code cookbook where it would be structured how you can build different things like Uber anything really, but structured just like a cookbook. So you would understand how to apply it very quickly.
I saw on
And
your YouTube channel, there was one that said how to use no code tools to build a video streaming service like Netflix. And that got I was like, that's intriguing. I might have to check that out.
yeah, thank you. Yeah. And so it just started with that. People would just like challenge or just put something up on Twitter. And they would ask like how to build this, like how to build a marketplace, how to do this. And I'd be like, challenge accepted. I was like, I'll do it in an hour. And
Hmm.
that's how like the show started. And really, this was in the middle of COVID, like just everything was going crazy. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this for 40 nights straight. I'm going to build 3 businesses every night for 40 nights straight, and we'll see what happens. I really didn't think anything would accomplish or anything would come out of it. And then from there, that's what sparked the interest. And then people just wanted either personalized coaching or just different, different blueprints how I did it. And what was interesting was years before this, I would always get the same counsel, or people would tell me like, Doc, if you try to give away everything for free, like no one will pay you, no one's going to do this, and you talk way too much and it's just not digestible, people aren't going to do it. But you know what? The exact opposite happened when I started doing these long form content. And most people like don't go more than an hour live streaming on YouTube. It's terrible.
Hmm.
All mine are an hour and a half to 2.5 hours, and it blew up. Oh, one last thing too. Randomly, I used to do videos for my clients. I usually keep them unlisted on YouTube. I totally forgot I kept one public, and I did it like last year, and it's how to stream on multiple platforms using Zoom. And that's what popped just on the YouTube channel. I was like, I never get like YouTube comments or whatever. And this one video just popped. And then, the tutorials of like Netflix or how to build Uber, or like how to build like a referral program like Dropbox. That's what just went crazy. And then here we are today.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's really interesting content. And as a person, one of my primary focuses working for Podia is growing and building the YouTube channel, and um, you know, always trying to create content that's useful for creators that reaches them and helps them where they are. But but also like putting out content that could potentially have that, like, and so of all of the videos we've put out, two have really performed well. And one of them was about iMovie on iPhone. Um, and then another one was about doing webinars on Zoom. And that just for whatever reason just took off. So
That's great. You never know. You never, you
right.
just
Yeah.
like, I know you probably have put out so many videos, like probably a couple hundred. And by the way, you've done a great job with the channel.
Oh, thank you.
It's really like just the amount of content and everything. And I gotta talk to you about thumbnails. I'm just like, I need to get my thumbnail game up. It's yeah, but putting out that much content, like something's gonna pop. Like in YouTube, it's just you never know what's happening. Like it's just weird. I didn't expect the Netflix one to do well. I just really didn't. But that's the one that everyone loves. Like I feel like I've done like 10 better ones. People like the Netflix one. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's definitely a mystery. And like you go in there and you try to reverse engineer some stuff and maybe, find, but you never absolutely know for sure. Um, so tell us a little bit about you talked about COVID and that hitting and some of the ways that impacted your business. What are some other challenges that you've experienced as you built your business and tried to turn it into what it is today?
That's interesting. You know what? I find that so many different industries, they're just, I'll just be honest. I felt like when I was definitely in entertainment in the sports world, it was really hard to get a clear read of what was real and what was fake. So many people that were industry leaders later on, found out they were broke, or it was almost just like, the businesses. And first of all, businesses courses that teach you how to do Facebook ads, nothing wrong with it. But I feel like sometimes when you see ads, how to do Facebook ads, and then it's just like the snake eating itself. It's just like that cyclical. I found that being in
Yeah.
certain industries, it was just they were telling me to do certain things, and it wasn't necessarily the case. So personally, learning how to pivot and learning how like what to do, either the fine line of getting your portfolio and showcasing what you can do and doing it for free and then actually charging. The lines were really muddled that I found in entertainment in the sports world.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah,
biggest part.
I think I get what you mean. So kind of just that a little bit of a chicken and the egg sort of scenario where like you're you're building your business around helping people um build their businesses, like using specific tools and stuff. And so there's kind of this, you do want to build up a portfolio and have case studies that you can point people to and testimonials and that kind of thing. But at some point, like in order to have a business, you have to flip the switch and start actually charging money. And yeah, that can be challenging, and the timing of that can be really delicate.
Exactly, exactly. And there's a quote that I've really tried to focus on in business. It was by Ramit Sethi. Sethi. Ramit Sethi? Ramit Sethi.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
I'm like,
I know who you're talking about.
like my saying is I don't want to butcher his last name, but I really he did a book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. But there was this one quote I'll never forget. It was a creative live class, and he was talking about you have to really examine, does your target market have the ability and the willingness to pay you? And if you do not have one or the two, you do not have a business. And that really struck home to me because I was always trying to fit in other things. I was always like, oh yeah, but they're so passionate, but they didn't have the money to pay me, or vice
Yeah,
versa. And what I found was I was putting too much self-worth in myself if they said no,
hmm,
where I should have just got out of that line and found another target audience that really appreciated what I was doing. And so it was, to tell you the truth, what I did 5 or 6 years ago for fitness entrepreneurs, where I would be pleading for them to pay for my consulting. And at the prices, I used to charge like 127 a month to do the same exact thing that I do now that I charge for 10K a month. There is no difference. The difference
yeah,
is the target audience and if they appreciate it. I've had people that were saying I had to decide between your consulting and me paying for my nutrition coach, and that's why they didn't pay me. Versus now I'm working with companies and entrepreneurs that realize the intricacies. If they perform better at certain parts of their funnel, I'm making them an extra tens or more thousands of dollars a month if we can get that right. So it was just
yeah,
the wrong person I was talking to. So that was tough for me because I always thought if this person didn't want my services, there was something wrong with me, or I needed to learn something more, or something I was saying, it just didn't resonate. I was just talking to the wrong person for what I wanted to do. And that was really
yeah,
tough.
yeah. That's such an important lesson, um, and what were I want to dig into that a little bit. So what helped you recognize that it wasn't about you. It wasn't about whether or not your service was good enough, but it really was about not reaching the right audience. And what helped you recognize that, and then figure out who to actually go after?
Yeah, I think it has to go with two things. One is more like based on metrics, and one is just like gut. I really feel like if you're really good at something, like, and people aren't respecting it or getting it, like you have to come to a point and realize, okay, maybe this just isn't a good fit. Like maybe this just isn't good. But I think it has to be something you're either really strongly passionate about or you're extremely proficient at. And it's not just like you're just starting out. And so it's that one. And then the other thing is too, I just was just running the numbers where there would be certain, it would just be like, can I even live off of this?
Hmm.
If I offer this at this price, can I even pay the mortgage? Like, can I do these things? And, you know, during this whole process, I'd like to say too, I'm not sure if this is, I feel like a lot of people can resonate with this. I mean, when I first started this whole thing and going off on my own, I was really newly married. So it was stressful. And I just had to like, can I afford like to do this for the family? And so at the point, I just realized like, okay, the numbers don't match up. Either I've got to pay more, people have to pay me more, or something's got to change. And so having that like fire under me every month to realize like, oh, I got to do something else, or this just is not cutting it anymore. That allowed me to evaluate, okay, let's take emotion out of this. Let's talk about this. Does this support? Do I want it to be a hobby, or do I want this to be a business? If I want it to be a business, I have to ask them for more. If they say no, I have to go in a different direction. And so having those clear guidelines and taking out the emotion, that allowed me to, excuse me, multiple times just shut down, reinvent, and pivot very quickly. And it was not easy. I'm not saying like, oh yeah, we just did that, but it was like
Yeah.
having the numbers there and just be like, this is something like, are we going to do this? And then that helped a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome that you were able to have that kind of clarity and be able to see that. Um, so I want to ask you about what you envision for your business in the near future, maybe like in the next 6 months or so. And then do you have plans or a vision for your business like 3 to 5 years from now?
Yes. I feel like they're I think COVID really, I don't know. It made it for me anyway. A lot of online businesses, or I've talked to ones online businesses, and for myself, it just brought a lot more clarity. It's a horrible situation. I'm not saying it's
Hmm.
good at all, but it's kind of brought a lot more clarity. Before I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this and this, and then it's going to advance. My main mission is I want to build a platform where it's education and a standard for no code. So I want it to be a platform where people can learn new skills, and to have an institution where you can show that what you're doing is the best. And also I want businesses to be able to interact with the online platform where they can find the best talent with ones that know their specialty in no code. So I feel like it's almost like a a platform for emerging technology like no code, and for people to either get jobs and be non-technical founders, or create your own side hustle with no code. And so that's my vision, even in the next 6 months. And then I want to be within 3 to 5 years, I want to have certifications and accreditation so we can put out curriculums for colleges and universities, and be able to have certificates, ones that maybe don't want to go to formal colleges or formal programs, and just want to learn these skills to create their own MVPs and side hustles. That's what I want.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's really interesting because it's kind of, um, you're really getting on the forefront of this emerging industry of people who are going to be building uh, tools and software and uh, web services without having to be or hire developers right away. Like, and that's it's pretty incredible that the technology is at a place where that's something that's possible. Um, and we're definitely going to need folks like you who can create the learning environments to help people do that. So that's awesome.
Thanks,
It's
man.
very
No,
exciting.
yeah. It's like this is the best time. I really like. I think about being in high school and dealing with like Dreamweaver. I started, it was like GeoCities. We were just building everything. Just had to learn lines of code. Things have changed so fast, and it really since like 2010. There's so many tools. It's so much easier to get started. I just feel like because it's so fragmented, it's really tough to know where to start or how to capitalize on all of these things. It's almost like it's cutting through the noise. That's what's necessary. And so I view this platform is going to allow a curated response for you to find your own track of learning and your own expression to creating something for the world using no code tools.
Yeah, and if I may, that's kind of what your no code cookbook is sort of driving at, where like you put out this YouTube content about how to build a specific thing that already exists using no code tools. Somebody could come to your website or your storefront and say, okay, well, I've got this thing in mind that I want to build, and then you have a learning path for them that helps them find and use the right tools to help them build that thing. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's exactly right. And there's one layer on top of that, which I really you articulated so much better than me. That's exactly right what the cookbook does. And I think what also the cookbook allows you to do, if you want it to do, it's allowing you to explore what's the minimal you can do to prove that you have traction. So I see so many times people are really in love with the idea, I'm just going to build it, which is great. That's if you want to do it just to say you've done it and you want to learn a level or be competent at a certain level, more power to you. If you want to go the side hustle route, don't just think that you're going to build the next Uber or the next Airbnb and think it's going to be successful. Let's talk about traction. Let's talk about, do you already have an audience? Have you already thought about what makes you different? And so the cookbook is very straightforward, but also allows you to start having a twinge of like, why are you doing this? What's the game plan? And that way it increases the likelihood of success, or that's what I
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah, that's so important. And I love that you brought that into it, because it's not just about finding the right tools and being able to build it, but you also have to know how to, like, whether or not it's something worth building, how to identify whether or not there's a market, and how to market to people, all of that. So that's really great stuff. Well, our time is coming to a close here, and before we finish up this conversation, I wanted to ask you: is there anything else you'd like to share with creators who might be watching this, who are just starting their own things? A last word of encouragement or advice?
Yeah, I think it just be comfortable with what you want to create. It will feel so much better. Don't feel stressed. Excuse me. Don't feel stressed. Just write down your goals, why you want to do it, and um, allow yourself to be like water and to change with what's happening, but also evaluate two things: how you feel and how the market feels. Maybe people really love some of the products or services that you've created and you're not really feeling it. Okay, well, we'll write that down. Examine what parts do you like or what parts you don't like. Can you change it? And then also too, why are you doing this and how can you change it for the better? How can you make this sustainable? I'm really passionate about not necessarily like the unicorn companies, but really lifestyle brands, ones where you can have a really good living for you and your family and make this um, a lifelong endeavor. And
Hmm.
so that's what I would say.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for all of the wisdom you've shared, and for telling us your story. And I know that a lot of folks who get a chance to watch this are really going to benefit from that. Where can people go to find you online?
Yeah, so you can find me a couple different places. For anything on social, I'm usually only on Twitter or Instagram, mainly Twitter. So Twitter is at underscore Doc Williams. Also on Instagram, you'll see Brand Factory Inc. You can find me there. To find out more on how I'm building the business and everything using live streaming and how we're doing that, you can go to brandfactoryinc.com. And then if you want to see all of the free shows and all the things that we're doing weekly, if you go to the buildwithmeshow.com, that's all of our website of all the past episodes. I think we're on episode 68 now. So you can see how we're using tools and go from there.
Awesome. And I'll be sure to link all of those in the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll have links to those. And we're also going to be posting this video to social media. So if you're, um, looking at this on Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, be sure to click through so that you can check out all of the links that Doc just mentioned, and see the amazing work that he's already built and the things that he's doing. And I'm excited to keep following along with your journey and see what you come up with. So
Thanks, man. And
yeah,
thank you for all the support.
oh, absolutely. I really appreciate your time today, and thank you so much for joining me on this conversation.
Not a problem. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, take care, Doc.